So good morning. I want to present to you today a theory of aesthetic eigenvalues, which explains what happened in the modern arts with the value of beauty. Aesthetic eigenvalues are eigenvalues of perception. I adapt the notion of eigenvalues from mathematics and physics. Eigenvalues are intrinsic values. The eigenvalues of a bridge, for instance, are the eigenfrequencies or the resonance frequencies of the bridge. And in analogy, I speak of eigenvalues of perception because these values are based in the construction principle of our perception apparatus. I start with this bipartite model of perception. Every perceptual apparatus has two components, the component of a gestalt formation and a component of attention shift. Animals construct by the help of remote senses, so that is vision and hearing, a gestalt. Gestalt formation has a survival function. Animals need the capacity to identify food, mating partners and predators in order to move closer or farther away from them. Attention is the ability to focus our perception apparatus on what is new. If the cat is hunting a mouse, it has to shift her attention towards the dog which is barking behind it. So attention has also a survival function. Gestalt formation and attention are both biological functions, but eigenvalues are not. They are hyperfunctions, or they are dysfunctions of these two general perceptual functions. Beauty is a hyperfunction of the gestalt formation process. The golden spiral in a shell, which is based on the golden section, for instance, is such a hyperfunction. It is a very special gestalt because one proportion appears twice and hence stimulates twice the perceptual apparatus. So it is a double stimulation, and this double stimulation causes the special aesthetic experience of beauty. By the same reason we hear the perfect octave as a harmonious sound. So beauty is an iterated gestalt. Such a hyperfunction we can find also on the side of attention. The event is not only a new perception which captivates our attention. So the door opens, somebody enters the room, and our attention shifts to the person. An event is much more. An event is a perception which requires absolute attention. Thunder and lightning in a thunderstorm are such perception which attract all our attention. So it is possible to pay attention to a person entering the room, or not to pay attention to a person entering a room, but it is not possible not to pay attention to lightning or thunder. Beauty and event are eigenvalues of perception which are caused by an information overflow, and in contrast, the dysfunctions of perception are caused by an information deficit in the gestalt formation process and in the attentional system. At the bottom left corner, you find an example of the sublime, a view over a wide open sea. The perceptual apparatus is stimulated by any visual information, so it is stimulated here for a gestalt formation process, but it is confronted with the paradox of a formless gestalt. The large still body of water is an anomaly for the perceptual apparatus, a case for what is not evolved for. Gestalt formation is caught in an infinite feedback loop which triggers in the recipient the experience of the sublime. At the bottom right corner you can find an example of aesthetic ambivalence. You see an owl in front of a tree whose feathers look like the tree bark. There's not enough visual information to distinguish clearly the figure from the background. Not only does the attentional shift system shift our focus to what is new, there is a second mechanism there. It also causes us not to lose interest in a shape that we have already recognized, though what we have already recognized becomes boring. We are bored and our attention shifts away. Perceptual ambivalence delays now this shift of focus. It attracts our attention more and longer than a normal gestalt. It is more interesting for us than a normal gestalt. And in this way, ambivalence is a dysfunction of the attention shift. That is, in short, the theory of aesthetic eigenvalues. Perception is based on two components of a gestalt-formation process and of an attention shift process, and there are four different special cases, four anomalies in these processes. There is an iterated gestalt, which we perceive as beauty, a formless gestalt, which is connected to the experience of sublimity, an absolute attention, which is caused by events, and delayed inattention, which is caused by aesthetic ambivalence. So aesthetic eigenvalues are used by biological evolution and by cultural evolution. In biological evolution, for instance, camouflage is an example which uses the ambivalence, and sexual ornaments are an example for the biological evolution. For instance, colorful feathering is based on the aesthetic eigenvalue of beauty. But what our focus of today is the evolution of the arts. Though old arts always exploited the eigenvalue of beauty, and modern arts rejected the fine arts and started to explore alternative eigenvalues. They started to explore the event, aesthetic ambivalence, and sublimity in a purified form. So this theory is compatible with empirical aesthetics and with neuroaesthetics, but for the description and interpretation of artwork, the vocabulary is not suitable. The vocabulary is not specific enough in order to interpret an artwork. So let's push the theory one step forward. We can describe every eigenvalue by two complementary parameters, and the eigenvalue then we can explain as a maximum of the interplay of these two parameters. Beauty in this way is an interplay of order and contrast. For instance, here you see this wonderful Middle Age altar piece, and the painters worked very strongly with ornamentation, and the ornament is the epitome of beauty. Order and contrast are the two parameters, and the artist tries here to increase the interplay of order and contrast. He uses a copy of a tracery of a Gothic church. Here you can see the ornament of flying doves in the center, which fly together in a circle. You find symmetries and you find a golden section. Sublimity we can describe as an interplay of formlessness and of infinity. So it is once again a dysfunction of a normal gestalt-formation process. And if you have an optimum of these two parameters, you have a strong experience of sublimity. Bernard Newman, this painting of Bernard Newman is a good example of the sublime experience. It has even the word sublime in the title. The first parameter is more or less evident. An abstract and red surface is formless. The second parameter, infinity, is less obvious, but Bernard Newman wrote an instruction manual for the viewers for his paintings, and he said people should look at the painting from a very close distance. If you go very close to these paintings, you do not see the edges of the paintings. You have only the impression. The impression is from this perspective is not limited. In other words, it is an infinite perception if you stand close enough to this painting. And once again, you have the interplay of these two parameters of formlessness and infinity. The two parameters which allow to describe and analyze a perception as an event are suddenness and intensity. Here you see the painting from Franz Kline, Black and White, number 2. And this painting causes a sudden and an intense experience. It is sudden because if you did not see this concrete painting, you never have seen such an impression before, because the black figure is undefined. And it is an intense perception because the painter uses the strongest possible contrast. He uses the contrast of black and white in order to cause a strong perception. The last eigenvalue of perception is aesthetic ambivalence, and the two corresponding parameters are indeterminacy and alienation. The example would be George Braque's Violin and Jugs. The painting of Braque keeps our attention by presenting us a perception riddle. We try to see the jug and the violin, but the images are entirely unstable. How did the cubist create such a visual ambivalence? By the combination of two techniques of indeterminacy and of alienation. The techniques of indeterminacy have two aspects. First, the most fundamental distinction in painting is dissolved here, namely the distinction between figure and ground. Analytical cubism does, and that is the second aspect, does not use colors, and colors make it very easy to recognize an object, but they use only gray and brown color shades. So you have these two techniques to increase the indeterminacy of the painting. In addition, cubism follows an abstract concept. And the concept is to present an object from very different viewpoints and angles simultaneously. And the effect of that is that you have a very unnatural representation of the object. You can recognize some parts of the jug and the violin, but you cannot recognize the full object, and henceforward this is a kind of an alienation of the object. And I use the word alienation in respect to Bertolt Brecht, who talked about the alienation effect in theater, and sometimes it's also called a distancing effect. With you can find the same examples in music. So early music and classical music have been based on beauty. In the beginning of the 20th century, there occurred a new discipline, a new form of art music. It's called a new music, and new music looks for new aesthetic experiences which are not based on beauty, which are based on the alternative eigenvalues. And here you see 3 examples of new music from the 20th century. If you are interested in these music examples, I would like to point you out to another lecture on my YouTube channel, and the lecture has the title Aesthetic Experience in New Music. The theory of aesthetic eigenvalues you can find in the first part of my book, Gehalt-aesthetics. So the word Gehalt you can translate like content or subject matter. So the title is some kind of subject matter to aesthetics. In the second part of the book, I combine this empirical aesthetics with a general art historical model, and this allows me to reconstruct art history in music and in the visual arts And this can explain also the place of beauty over times. Medieval symbolic art and the fine arts have been based on beauty, and the modern arts rejected the fine art. The fine arts, it's translated or we call it in German, die schönen Künste. So the word beauty is in the notion of the arts. And modern arts start to explore these other eigenvalues of perception and develop new isms and styles. The historical avant-garde emancipates from classical modernism by separating art from aesthetics, what leads finally toward an anesthetic conceptual art. Conceptual art is the epitome of historical avant-garde, and it is also a turning point for the modern arts. Conceptualism is a 0 point in art history, and it works like a catalyst for a gehalt-aesthetic term, for a material aesthetics toward a gehalt-aesthetic. And how does this gehalt-aesthetic turn work? Modern art replaces the aesthetics of beauty and refers, and the new value is newness, but you can define newness in two different ways. You can define it in respect to aesthetic material. You create new isms, you transgress the borders of art, or you can create new artwork in respect to new topics, to new subject matters, and that is gehalt-aesthetic. The first step toward gehalt-aesthetic is postmodern art, which radically breaks with the belief system of the avant-garde. It reintroduces figurative painting, the aesthetics experience, and henceforward also the experience of beauty. Simultaneously, postmodernism is distancing itself from tradition by a trick, namely by quoting and by using kitsch, like you can see here in the paintings of Roy Lichtenstein and Jeff Koons. And today, the ongoing politicization of the arts is a clear sign that finally postmodernism came to an end. Political art is a specific version of gehalt-aesthetic, but I have to add it is also a deficient version of gehalt-aesthetic. Political art takes side in a political conflict and has a specific message. In contrary, gehalt-aesthetic art has a pre-political function by creating a new self-description of society. And in other words, it helps to reshape the conditions for politics in a liberal democracy. Nevertheless, the rise of political art today is proof enough that the gehalt-aesthetic turn took place in the arts. All isms, styles, and aesthetic values can be used similarly and equally in the arts, including the value of beauty, but aesthetics is not anymore a purpose in and of itself, but rather a mean of expression for a certain subject matter, respectively a certain gehalt. Thank you very much.